The Law and You. A look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You. Presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. This is program number 821, and it is coming to you on Monday the 21st of March 2016. On this program, I will speak to you on the topic, the Canouan Project Part 1. But before getting into the topic, a few preliminary remarks. Firstly, my condolences go out to all families which have suffered recent bereavements, and in particular the family of Mr. Dowers of Murray Road, former employee of the government printery for years and years and years. Mr. Dowers was a fixture at the government printery, retired for a number of years, and one could have seen him walking daily up to Sion Hill and back on the sidewalk between his home and the Sion Hill junction. To his family, I say deepest condolences. On a happier note, let me congratulate Maurice and Oberkees for having tied the nuptial knot on Saturday afternoon at Cane Hall, a beautiful ceremony conducted in style by Apostle Paul Kirby and Bishop Campbell, and very thoroughly enjoying proceedings. I mean, it was really very, 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 very wonderful. And the couple was thrilled. Here was a groom from Cuba and a bride from the Dominican Republic, whose romance blossomed in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where they would be living for the foreseeable future. So one hopes that they will be soon producing Vincentian-born children. Beautiful wedding. Congratulations also to SVG-TV, St. Vincent and the Grenadines Broadcasting Corporation, on their 36th anniversary, their 36th year in existence. And The Law and You is eternally grateful for SVG-TV for carrying the program all these many years free of charge. And I thank the directors and the staff of SVG-TV for all of their support over the years and for allowing us to interact, you with me and I with you. So congratulations to St. Vincent Grenadines Broadcasting Corporation on your 36th year. Now, yesterday and today would go down in history as very special days in the life of the Republic of Cuba, because for the first time in, I think, 90-something years, a United States president, a sitting president, has gone to visit Cuba. President Obama and his family arrived in Havana yesterday, Sunday, and they were expected to spend yesterday and today in Cuba on a truly historic visit. I don't have to tell you how much Cuba means to me. And Cuba should mean a lot to all of us here in the Caribbean. Well, many of us have been calling over the years for the removal of the United States economic sanctions against Cuba. We are happy that the plight of the Cuban Five that I spoke so much about over the years has been removed. They are no longer in the United States. They're all back in Cuba, thanks to the Obama government. And once again, thanks to the Obama government, relations between the United States of America and Cuba are set to enter a new and better phase. Of course, if after the presidential elections in November this year in the United States, a Republican president comes into office, then all of that could change, because we all know the attitude of the Republicans towards Cuba. But let us hope for the best. So congratulations both to the United States of America and to Cuba on a further strengthening of the relations between those two countries. Excuse me. Now for my final preliminary remarks. Our good friend, the Honorable Jomo Thomas, in his column in the Vincentian newspaper on Friday, the 18th of March, on page 11, has made what I consider a profound suggestion, one which has my enthusiastic support, and I will be speaking about it time and again in future programs, DV. This is what Jomo wrote in part. Clearly, any attempt to clean up Kingstown will include a solution for the Kingstown market and the vendors there. As it stands now, the $1 million market is really a huge, glorified storeroom. People vend mostly on the outside and store their goods overnight inside. Minister Francis has suggested that a new place be found for a Caribbean-style type vegetable market, and floated the idea that the current structure be turned into a mall. Clearly, the structure can be put up to better use. However, rather than look for a buyer or someone with deep pockets to lease the building, the suggestion is for the market to be reconfigured, rehabilitated, and reconstituted as the Hall of Justice. A Hall of Justice for St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been suggested for years, with a cost of $19 million. Clearly, we do not have that money, but may be able to borrow about $5 million to do this job. We can rework this building to find rooms for the Court of Appeal, High Court, Criminal and Civil, Serious Offenses, Magistrate and Family Courts. There is sufficient room for the registry. Currently, we rent space to house all of these except the Criminal Court, which sits downstairs the House of Assembly. A Hall of Justice in that location will not only be centrally located, with all of the courts and the registry in one central place, it will also ease on the millions government pays in rent over the years. The Hall of Justice idea has to do with reorganization. I cannot tell you how much I support that idea. because right now the buildings housing the various courts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are scattered around the town, around the city. Apart from the main criminal court at the traditional courthouse compound, we have the High Court and Registry, upstairs the Correa's building, opposite the Central Market. Then there's the Serious Offences Court, up at Kingston Park Road, Paul Avenue. The Family Court is down Bottom Town, next to Randy's Supermarket. And lawyers who go from court to court, sometimes a lawyer who practices in the family court or in the magistrate's court and also has his practice in the high court, has to hustle from one court to another. And it's a hassle. For one thing, parking spaces are not available. And very often a lawyer has to be in the serious offences court and in the high court the same day. Not to mention persons having businesses to do throughout the court system. So Jomo Thomas's idea, the Honorable Jomo Thomas's idea of using the Central Market and having it rebuilt, reconfigured internally to house all of these courts and the registry is a tremendous idea well worthy of being pursued. All the government has to do is to launch a competition among the young architects and designers and engineers as to who could produce the most acceptable plan to reconfigure the Central Market into a hall of justice. Give a prize and award a contract to one of our young professionals to design a structure to hold all of these facilities. And having justice centralized in one compound would have tremendous advantages. One could then develop a proper law library. The existing law library is housed in the Attorney General's office, which is in the Methodist building up at Sharp Street, opposite the Kingston Seventh-day Adventist Church. And from what I understand, the law library isn't used much. It used to be in Paul's Avenue, just in the corner at opposite Vinlek. Move from there, so that there's no proper functioning law library at the moment, except the one in the Attorney General's office. And that is far from where lawyers have their central practices. So I hope the authorities would take up the Honorable Jomo Thomas's idea and give some thought to using that Central Market, because the government has already announced that they want to do something else with it. And I myself heard Minister Francis announce the possibility that private enterprise may be invited to take over the building. But here we can use it for a very good purpose, justice, and I will return to the theme. Thank you, Jomo, for that brilliant idea. And let me thank Brother Kingsley de Freitas for his very kind article in the newspaper last Friday. Very complimentary. Thank you, Kingsley. I will start the topic today, or at least tonight, and continue the following Monday, but not next week Monday. Next week Monday is Easter Monday. And as you know, being a public holiday, there will be no program of the Law and You, so I will continue the following Monday, the 4th of April. All right? So I'll begin the introductory comments today on the Canouan Project. Now, on the 31st of October, 1990, Prime Minister Sir James Mitchell signed a lease agreement with the Canouan Resorts Development Limited for the leasing of substantial portions of Canouan. I was Attorney General at the time, and my signature appears on that lease as the witness to Sir James's signature. And I've asked the cameraman to just zero in on the signing page, and let me show you now. Have a look. So there you have seen my signature next to Sir James Mitchell. So that when I speak about the Canouan Project, I speak from the background of somebody who was intimately involved in the beginning stages. The Prime Minister had been negotiating with the Canouan developers for some time. He sent me to New York to conduct negotiations. He sent me to Miami to conduct negotiations with the Canouan developers. And ultimately, in October 1990, the agreement was signed and then taken to Parliament and made a law. The Prime Minister negotiated a very good deal for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the persons with whom he negotiated in very good faith. Two of them stand out in my memory. Mr. Antonio Saladino, who was the financial leader of the group, and Baron Carlo Amato, a member of the Italian aristocracy. Baron Amato was one of the most cultured persons I have ever met. Highly educated, a very charming man, and above all, very sensitive to the concerns which the Prime Minister expressed for the welfare of the people of Canouan and of the state of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I can truly say, as I said when we reported to Parliament, that the Canouan developers were among the best persons we had encountered in terms of their willingness to make concessions on behalf of the environment and to do a deal for the genuine development of the island of Canouan. Something appears to have gone a bit wrong over the years. And as matters have turned out, the situation in Canouan is not a satisfactory one from my standpoint. Now, I personally have not been to Canouan for a number of years and years and years. But I have represented clients who were persons who invested in the project. I've never represented a company, but I've represented some of their clients. And unfortunately, in several cases, those clients had to take the developers to court for alleged violation of their contractual rights. But I will not go into that. But I just say that to let you know that I have kept in touch with what has been going on in Canouan from the point of view of persons who have bought into the project, and the prices that persons have paid for some of the villas and lots in Canouan would astound you. And yet many of them have complained of this and that. But what has triggered this program has been the recent outbreak of, shall we say, hostilities in Canouan involving the people of Canouan and the Canouan Development Authorities. Recently, we heard about an incident in which persons took it upon themselves to block the entrance to one part of the project, the Canouan Development Project, for some 2 hours before they were persuaded to cease the blocking of that entrance. Let me say at the outset, as I've said before, the law recognizes the right of persons to protest, but protest has to be within lawful bounds. You cannot protest by either trespassing on anybody's property or blocking the free passage of persons and vehicles to and from private property. So, inasmuch as I'm instinctively sympathetic to local concerns, I must let our local people know that you cannot take the law into your hands in the name of protest. And while you have legitimate grievances, and I will come to those, particularly in the next installment of this topic, and while you have the right to give expression to those grievances, you don't have the right to say you're going to block up an entrance and stop vehicles and people going or coming. No, no, no. That is unlawful. And you should not do it. If you want to protest, you can stand with your placards and the like, but you can't go blocking entrances. Because what will happen, as has happened, there would be retaliation, and then people are laid off, using the disturbances as the pretext for laying off people. And I know some of the workers in Canouan. In fact, I am the godfather of a child whose father works in Canouan and was one of those recently laid off as a result of the so-called protest action. So I have intimate knowledge of some of the things that have been going on in Canouan. I am glad to see that the authorities have responded to the request by the local people for the government to intervene. I know the Prime Minister himself, according to news reports, had gone to Canouan recently to try to sort out some of the problems there, and from what I understand in the newspaper, he has asked the two of his top officials to meet with the protesters. Now, let me make a few general remarks about investments. While St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as other countries in the Caribbean, is endowed with desirable landscape and seascape. There are several things we have to bear in mind. One, we are in competition with other places for investment dollars. We are competing, and we cannot compromise our bargaining power by contributing to St. Vincent and the Grenadines getting a bad name. Secondly, when foreign investors invest their money in a country, it is with the intention of making a reasonable profit on their investments. People don't invest in a country just because they love the country and they love the people. That may be part of the allure, part of what brings them here. But they invest to make a profit. In the case of Canouan, the investment has run into hundreds of millions of dollars. So investors have a legitimate concern to make sure that their money has gone to a country where they are likely to be able to make a profit, or as they call it in investment terms, where the rate of return is going to be attractive, and where they would not be imperiled. We also have to understand in this country that these are days when news travels with lightning speed, particularly bad news. Long ago, it took you several days to hear of an incident in any country. Now, it is a matter of seconds. The instant something happens, the whole world knows about it. So we have to be careful that we don't develop the reputation of being a place where there is a high level of agitation. As against the rights of the investors, we have the rights of local persons. And I will elaborate on that in the next installment of the program, particularly the right of access to beaches. While we welcome foreign investment to St. Vincent and Grenadines, and we have always done that, it cannot be at the expense of our dignity. It cannot be at the expense of our sovereignty. This is our country. And nobody is entitled to come here to make us feel that we are second-class citizens. So foreigners who invest here or who visit here must understand that they are coming to a sovereign country where the people have rights and they have sensitivities which should be respected. You see, we have to aim at achieving a balance between our local rights and the legitimate rights of those who invest here, either as primary investors or as the purchasers or renters of villas constructed in the development. So that on part 2 of this program, I will go into the lease agreement, and I will also tell you something about the law relating to access to beaches, which I understand has been central to the recent disturbances. As I see it, there are wrongs committed by both sides and legitimate rights and grievances exposed by both sides. But where the truth lies is something we have to aim to discover in time. So that is all from this program of The Law and You. I wish you a blessed Easter weekend. We will remember the significance of Good Friday coming up in a few days' time, and of Resurrection Day, Easter Sunday. And of course, many persons will be trying to enjoy themselves on Easter Monday. Do have a peaceful and blessed Easter weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, may the good Lord continue to bless us all.
The Law and You. A look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You. Presented by lawyer panel R. Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.